All right, it is Wednesday, October 5th. Starting to feel like, John, we're in the state of Washington. Maybe the Commanders were ahead of the curve with the coffee mugs earlier this year. With the state of Washington in the background versus all this rain, this nastiness. It hurts the bones.
Yeah.
So with all of that and more, here's Riggo.
All righty, Todd. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. On NOAA, you can go with the last 3 days' history of weather, and I was up to like 1 3/4 inches yesterday, and we've got considerable more rain today. We've had in the last 4 days, I think, at least over in Cabin John where I live, over 2 inches of rain.
Wow.
Over 2 inches of rain. Slow rain too. I mean, it's the best rain you can get. Just barely comes down, but it doesn't stop.
Are you seeing any of the fruits of your green grass labor yet? How's this?
Gee, you would have to bring that up. I don't know what to make. Remember when on here, I don't know what's going on. It's like it ain't blowing me away. And I put a lot of work into it too. And I really thought, I've told you before, and everybody knows this by now. It's all about the the logistics. Remember I said
yes.
that's really what that's what makes me the happiest when I figure out ahead of time what's his name, the guy in A-Team. What was his name? I can't remember. George Papard. But, I love it when a plan comes together. Well, guess what? My goddamn plan with the grass ain't coming together. And I
got to back this up a little bit because we haven't talked since last week. Did you get the worms? Did you do the worm thing?
No, I haven't because I'm kind of like, I'm still.
So you skipped a step. Did you?
Sucking my thumb over you said skipped a step. I think I misstepped. Shit, I don't know what the hell to make out of it. I mean, yeah, some of the grass is coming in, but it ain't coming in the way I thought it would. And my real, what you call it, the coup de grace, if you will, or what do they call that when it's the very best, the essence of. My real thought was when I used the power washer to drive the seeds into the ground.
Oh yeah, that was a pro move.
Now I'm thinking I must have drove in 6 inches, and they didn't have enough energy to make it up.
The seeds are like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Just let Mother Nature hit us with that soft, gentle rain.
Like people 6 feet under, seeds went 6 inches under. Not a good scene. They don't come back after. I don't know. But to answer your question, it's kind of a mixed bag right now. I keep thinking, well, springtime comes, this will all change. But I haven't seen enough green in the brown, gray spots to make me think that that I really knocked out of the park. And while we're on this subject, this is the worst tomato crop I've ever had. It's just awful. It's just awful.
I said that to the boys at ECT. We have to talk to the boys at ECT.
It ain't their fault. I don't think I can lay this off on them. I think two things. One,
I'm not.
It could be the place where I bought the seed, but I don't think that's it. I mean, seed is seed for the most part. Some better than others, I'm sure. But I'm trying to think of that new, Tim Allen. Home Improvement, more power. That what do you call it? That green or that grow light that I got that was just just. I think I might have stunted him somehow to begin with, but the real coup de grace on that actually pièce de résistance. That's what
there was the other.
But anyway, the coup de grace on the plants was Lisa Marie and I went to Cabo. When did we go? Late July. Well, right before I went out and I put down some of the stuff from ECT. I put down the fertilizer, and I also put down the stuff that helps because
retain the moisture.
Retain the moisture, exactly. But I also happen to add a little tenacity to that, which is something that's really good for like killing nimblewill or sedge. This kind of grassy looking stuff that grows up. Well, God, I can't believe it, and it didn't seem like that went, but that goddamn stuff drifted into those tomatoes, and yeah. I mean, they were all when I came. I take off and I go to Mexico and I come back. Oh man, tomatoes! I can hardly wait to see them. One out there, and they're all brown.
It's after your birthday,
yellow.
You got a nice little tomato birthday presents, and they're like.
I've got a few tomatoes, but as Elvis sang, too few to mention. Or Frank, I guess. Yeah, that didn't turn out too good. But you live and you learn. So I know better now. And that's the other reason when we was talking about going green. I got to get away from the herbicides. I got pesticides, herbicides, whatever it is. I got insecticides. I got to try to stay away from that stuff. Wow. I'm becoming a believer that stuff's not good for you.
So maybe we got to go with less is more, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I still haven't given up on the worms, but I'm thinking, like I said, as I keep looking at my grass and where you've got all this momentum, it's kind of like, I don't know if it would be a football analogy, but because I guess Ashburn hasn't had any momentum since when?
Grass been pretty
the
brown
80s
out
and the
there.
early 90s.
Grass been pretty brown out there.
Yeah, so I can't. But it's where, you really got it going, and all of a sudden, the other team scores, 14, 21 points, and you're going, gee, what happened? So I got to rethink the worms. 'Cause I think it's going to be about $600-700 for the worms. But at the same time, I'm looking at it. If they actually aerate the soil like they're supposed to, then I don't need to rent a machine and wear myself out in the fall every year. So.
Now, is there a Hail Mary that you can go to? Because we're in October.
No, not at this point. It's kind of.
What can you do?
I'm locked in. Well, cold weather's on the way. You're not going to be able to plant anything now. The other thought of this, and I almost did it years and years ago, was in the spring go to a warm season grass. But now you're talking about a zoysia or Bermuda, and if you do that, then you're going to have a brown lawn in the wintertime. There ain't going to be no green. But then again...
Yeah, but that's I love that, Grab. Now we go with chipping some balls on your front yard.
Yeah. I actually, the backyard, I thought about putting in, bent grass? Bent grass, that's what they make greens out of, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of them.
I was going to, because, Uncle Jerry, But did you realize, here I thought Uncle Jerry, he's got this putting green in his backyard. You know what? I thought he had the whole...
It's AstroTurf, though, isn't it?
Astro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jerry.
He cheated.
God.
He cheated.
Damn.
Looks good.
Oh.
Looks good from afar.
Look, in the picture, you can't tell.
Yeah, that's right. That's all we saw. It's like,
But I was very disappointed in that. But yeah, I'm thinking, well, I could always go and try to bring back, the warm season grass. We'll see. I don't know. I'm still torn. It could very well snap out of it, though. I mean, some of that then you start thinking, well, the goddamn company that sold me that seed, they say, it's 99% pure live seed, PLS. I'm going, bullshit. This is like 50%, maybe 25%. Maybe in my hands it becomes 25%. Anybody else's hands who knows what they're doing, it is 99% pure live seed.
better odds, your grass making a turnaround or Ashburn?
Grass. For sure, grass. That's no brainer there. I say that kind of flippantly, but I'll tell you now, to be honest with you, this is a tough question.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Weeb Eubank used to say he's seen sicker cows get well. My old coach with the New York Jets.
What
He said,
a
I've
great
seen sicker.
line.
And I'm thinking at the time when Weeb would say that, I'm thinking to myself, Weeb, this cow is a walking dead cow. This cow ain't going to live too much longer. And it didn't. I think the best season we ever had when I was playing up there was 7-7 back in those days.
Oh, wow.
My sophomore year. All right, let me switch from my agrarian ways to I got a new show that you can see it too because we were just talking. You got HBO Max. I
HBO
believe
Max.
That's what's on.
Yep.
Have you heard of Bad Sisters? Obviously you haven't.
No.
Oh, this has turned in. I told Lisa Marie, I said, this has kind of turned into to Breaking Bad for me.
So a binge thing, like you can't wait for the next episode?
Yeah, and you keep thinking it's got to be getting close to the end. I'm going to give you a real quick synopsis of what I know, and I haven't really went online and looked to see. I certainly don't want to see how it concludes. But it's basically, and this is the best part, absolutely best part. There is a guy in here. There's 5 sisters. One of them is married to, in all honesty now, if he could get this guy to hang out with him, the guy that owns the football team, he would look like, St. Peter compared to the guy that's in this show. That's how this guy is unbelievable. I've never seen a more villainous villain. And it's all about his snarky ways he does undermine
and we've
everything.
Seen some pretty bad ones in Succession and Billionaire and some really bad dudes that just
they can't hold up the candle to this guy. They can't. You got to see it. Oh, he's smooth too.
Do you know who the actor is?
No, I don't. I don't know. But it's basically set in England. Well, in England, I think, or Ireland, someplace. But it's British, and I think it's done by a British production company. But yeah, so basically, this guy is such a shithead that the sisters start to plot his demise. But the one that he's married to, and she, she just looks like she's completely beaten down, which she is because he's so overbearing and just everything he does, and so dismissive of everything, and so, like I said, snarky. And so, like, give you an example, he's got the next door neighbor who he finds to be meddlesome, so he's figured out a way to start. He can't make this stuff. This is the writing is great, I think. He figured out a way to get on this guy's. Because this guy is really, I guess, single. He's never been married, so he doesn't have children. But he really helps out at the youth church camp type tough, right? The youth. So this guy.
Watch those guys.
Well, that's the whole point. The bastard has been sending stuff and trying to inveigle him, and acting like he's a little boy. And that his pee-pee is getting big and purple, and he doesn't know what to do. Yeah, trying to get this guy, but the guy is not a perv. He's not a ped, right? But somehow he drops enough stuff. He drops this on his computer, so then he can call the police and report him. The police come out. They grab the computer. They see the emails, although from the one guy, they're completely harmless. But this son of a bitch has set him up. That's the kind of stuff this guy does.
That's a word we haven't heard. That's what I call dastardly.
Yeah, it don't get a whole lot worse than that.
That's some evil shit.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what he does to everybody. He's just out of control. But you have to see it. Bad Sisters.
Bad Sisters.
Yeah. And now, the other thing I want to bring up, and then we'll get into some stuff that you got, is I've got a new hat on today. I don't know if you noticed, but it looks so much like the other hats. But I got a friend of mine in Texas. Now, these were very hard to get a hold of. Made by the American Hat Company. They're out of...
Texas.
They're made in. How'd you know they were made in Texas?
Because I was just awarded a Stetson from my. Well,
Stetsons are they made in Texas?
Well, no, actually, I was awarded an American hat. They called it a Stetson, but I got the box.
That company made your hat?
Yes, 100%.
You got the real deal.
100%.
This is a hell of a hat company. They're in Bowie, Texas is where they're from. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, Tom. He's an old college friend of mine. But you know what? I got to thinking about it because I got to think about him. He's I don't want to say, he'd be a kind of a born-again cowboy.
He's San Antone boy, right?
Yeah,
Snoggle. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, he grew up he started out in Waukene, Kansas. He's a Kansan. He's a native Kansan. He's a jayhawker like me. Then he moved to Colorado, and then eventually he relocated to Texas and got into cowboy stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought about this. He's my age, 73, and he's still roping a couple times a week, team roping.
Damn.
Yes. Because I didn't think anything about it. Tom's roping, and I got to thinking, God damn it.
Now, he was a college football teammate of yours.
Yes.
At KU.
Yes.
Well, he's in good shape. Last time I saw him, that was about 4 years ago. 5.
Exactly. But I keep thinking to myself, man, he's fearless.
Yeah.
I guess if you ride a horse enough, you don't think twice about it, like a motorcycle maybe.
Sure.
You don't think there's going to be an accident, but they do happen. Remember Riggins' friend who was something here, the horse reared up and the saddle horn and killed him?
Yes.
I mean,
Not
it does
to be
happen.
trifled with.
But I'm thinking, hell, just falling off the damn horse ain't going to turn out well if you lose your balance somehow.
Yeah.
The last time I was on a horse, I believe, was in Montauk about 10 years ago. My brother had come up, my younger brother, and so we decided out there, they've got this little ranch, the oldest ranch in the East Coast, maybe in the United States, in 1600s is when this thing started. Excuse me, please, but they have, little, what do you call it? There was a woman out there that gave horse riding lessons, and they had horses you could rent, and you go on a horse ride, horseback ride around the eastern tip of, all the way out. I don't know if you can make it all the way to the lighthouse, but just all around Montauk out by the ocean. Really beautiful stuff. They gave me a goddamn horse, Todd. It was a goddamn Clydesdale. It was half Clydesdale.
Big horse for big guy.
I needed a 10-foot step ladder to get up on the son of a bitch. I ain't kidding you.
That's an intimidating animal.
Let me tell you something. I felt like, by where my head was, I was at least 10 feet off the ground. So, your brain, your feet are, are closer, but you go offside of that horse. So that's what I got to think about Tom. I'm thinking, God damn it, when they come out of that chute, when they let that calf go, and and you got the healer and the guy that throws it around the head. I don't know I guess he's the header and the healer. Those horses, they're quarter horses. For a quarter of a mile, thoroughbred can't touch them. They're sprinters. They're the true sprinters of the horse world. Man, they come out of there, the acceleration, and you're out of there like a shot. And like I said, you're throwing. You got I'm trying to think. You ain't holding on to the reins. Well, you got one hand holding the reins. I don't know how
That's
that
true.
works.
Now, as you think about it, how you got to be
you ain't
locked
got
in
two
on that.
hands.
Yeah.
And that gets me into a whole other thing. We've talked about this is the Comanches that they say is one of the best light cavalries ever in the world. You know, right up there with the Mongols.
Oh.
How they could ride and get off numerous arrows at a gallop. And I guess they'd lean over and shoot underneath the horse with a bow, with an arrow. I mean, you know what? It's weird how good you can get at stuff if you practice.
Well,
but then again, Alan
that's all
Iverson, practice.
But if that's all you got to do,
if that's the way you make your living, true.
Right.
If you ain't any good at it, you're not going to eat. You
right,
might want to
eating, keeping our way of life, or defending ourselves.
Yeah, get out to the rifle or get out to the range there, and a little bit more, son. You're not quite there yet. But anyway, yeah, I just want to thank Tom, and I think that kind of closes me down. Other than one last thing. You know, I've been oiling my deck over there, which seems like it goes on forever. And unfortunately, the stuff I put on, it takes a while to dry, and you need to put 5 coats on. Well, I rolled on the one big part of the deck, and finally I got to where I was realizing this is going to be the death of me. I mean, this is like painting the goddamn Golden Gate Bridge. As soon as I get done, I got to start over and come back, go back the other way and just do it again. Yeah. So I got to the point where and then plus we got this fence that we built out of wood, and that needs, so I went and bought a JP5 airless sprayer. So airless and cordless. So I've got that, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. But with all this rain, I haven't been able to do anything, so. But come to the weekend, once it dries out, I'll be doing some serious throwing.
We're going to have some New Year's resolutions for 2023
and
for the big guy.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking maybe cutting back on some of the DIY.
Oh, this is the best news yet. I can't believe I haven't gotten to it. Which is good news, bad news, right? Last week I had the virus, right? I came down I tested positive last Tuesday.
Got the crud.
And so the doctor gave me some medication. Now, in all fairness, I also have a friend that comes over who's a rolfer. He also taught yoga, so he's into this stuff, right?
The rolfing is the massaging technique.
It ain't massage time.
It's not?
Ain't massage. No.
It's kind of like the meat grinder.
This ain't for the faint of heart. They use their elbows and their thumb, and they go all the way. Once they start down
under the fascia.
Exactly, that's what they do. They're going.
I had it one time.
It's
I lasted about 10 minutes. I said, nope, going to switch processes.
Exactly. So you tried it.
Many years.
And it's like 10 sessions.
Oh.
But now I'm kind of doing a little mixing. But I don't know where it goes. But I had the PMR and all that bullshit and all this. What do you call it? Possible. Rheumatoid arthritis. I have felt the best I've felt in probably 3 years, the last 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. There you go.
And that's where, anything I would do, it's like, do I have? I mean, to the point where it's like getting up and going to the bathroom. It's going, well, I kind of got to go, but it doesn't hurt that bad right now. Then all of a sudden it's going, oh, God, I got to pee. I guess this pain is worse than the pain I'm going to feel. It's always about, what's bothering me the most. But I tell you what, I feel damn good.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
Salute. All right, Riggo, you want to you want good football or bad football? Which way you want to go first?
What do they usually do? I think we go with bad football and finish strong with good football.
All right, I like it. Well, the natives are restless here in old D.C., and they don't like what we're seeing already coming out of Ashburn here. And
why would that be? And I don't mean to interrupt you because go back. They make the playoffs their first year, but there's a caveat there: 7-9.
Right.
You call that?
You said it then. It was fool's gold.
Total bullshit.
Fool's gold.
So
in a god awful division, it was fool's gold. Now, reverse that, and in 3 short years' time, NFC East could be back. Philadelphia is the only undefeated team at 4-0. Dallas and the New York Giants are 3-1. And
that's what makes
Washington escaped barely beating a Jacksonville team that's not as bad as everybody thought.
Right, exactly.
In their home opener. And subsequently, there's not a lot of reason to be positive around here. And the Dallas game just reinforced that, getting beat by Cooper Rush, still a backup quarterback. And he does not look like a backup quarterback and played damn well. But if there was a time to get better, it was, Dallas was a big deal.
And that goes a long way. A perennial foe, really, right? The number one rival of this team. Certainly for the fans. I don't know how the players feel about it nowadays. But a good friend of mine was saying, hey, they were in that game. They could have. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but you got to stop and think. They were playing the JV. They got beat by the JV. Of course, when I say that, I really mean the backup quarterback.
Well, yeah, but that's true. And it was one of those games where you felt like Dallas was just toying. Dallas came off the short week after being on Monday Night Football. So, it just felt like they were in total control, and Washington never had a chance because their offense is so inept. And Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I think so.
And so here we are. We're back again. And so Coach Rivera, he's not. He's starting to drop f-bombs in press conferences and is getting snippy with the media, which we've seen this is the natural progression, right?
Yeah, true.
You hunker down first. It's us against the world.
Right.
Now the players, there was some sniping. Now the coaches, because now they're on the hot seat. Now people are realizing when you see how good the Giants and Eagles and the Cowboys
Well, yeah,
look.
exactly. Teams that you all basically were, shall we use my horticultural analogy, planted at the same time.
Yes.
And you've got some of these plants that are like this, and Washington has barely popped through the surface, if in fact they've germinated yet, maybe not even germinated.
And whenever the guys gets really snippy out there and starts going after the media, and some of his comments recently,
Who's this now,
this has been Rivera, because he was pissed off the previous week because I guess ESPN had the report that they were close to getting Garoppolo instead of Carson Wentz. And then they dropped that right before the game on Sunday. And so apparently they're really concerned about Carson Wentz's feelings for a guy that's made over $200 million. If you're that sensitive, then I think you're in the wrong business. But Rivera was really upset and said, media's going to make a big deal out of this, and we don't need that for Carson.
Okay, but stop there for a second and tell me why he should have been upset with this story coming out the same day they were playing the Eagles.
Because Rivera has pumped it up and pumped up Carson and blowing sunshine up everybody's skirts here that Wentz was the guy all along. And this report contradicted that. And if Garoppolo hadn't been undergoing shoulder surgery, yeah, it's called grow up. It's called business. And trust me, they did it to you.
You get caught. All of a sudden, it's kill the messenger.
They fried your ass when you came down here, and George Allen used you as a blocking back incorrectly, this and that, and they lit you up.
Yeah, exactly. But in this situation, you asked for it. This actually happened. You did want Garoppolo, and ultimately, if you're Wentz, and I think Wentz handles this stuff pretty well, to be honest with you.
Yes, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's like they are paying me $20-some million. It's like, should you really? I mean, this is where I'm looking at. Are these guys really snowflakes? That their egos and their psyches are so sensitive that find out that, oh, I wasn't number one, you wanted somebody else, even though you're paying me well more than I've proven to be worth at this point.
And it's
I don't know, I think I'd
team.
be, number 2, number 3, I don't care if it's number 10. How much money am I making again? I'll do the best I can.
He's made over $200 million in his career with this contract. This is his third team in 30 years. Listen, everybody's rooting for him. But you are who you are.
Well, but like I said, he's handling it. Well, he's handling it better than the coach is handling it. He ought to go to the coach and say, Coach, I'm a big boy. You're paying me $27 million. Let them say what they want.
They're going after Coach Ron now. It's on everybody, and because there's no sympathy for the franchise. And so now there's like, you know what? Sorry, but you were with the wrong gang. And they're glamming onto his quotes that he's had for the last couple of years. It's not how you start that matter. It's how you finish that does. And then they went back and said, you know what? That's what he kept saying in Carolina. So now they're doing they're going backwards, and they've got the anal probe. So and how many times did I tell you this when they hired him and he came into town? Do you realize, John, that in 11 seasons, he's only had 3 winning seasons.
He's been a head coach for 11 years.
11 years. And since 2017, which was his last winning season, he's 27-38. And 5 years ago in this league is eons ago, right?
Right.
How many times do we see every year there's 1 or 2 teams that go from last to first, or they go deep in the playoffs? So we've been hearing the same crap for all these years. So sorry, you're just the latest in a long line of guys. We can go back to Shanahan, to Zorn, to Gibbs, to Gruden. So now it's your turn in this position, And the fans are already fed up after a brief period of time. They've got Tennessee at home this week. It really is a must win.
You'd think so, yeah. Now you're going, what, to 1-4 if they don't win that game? It may, you always say that, well, let me tell you, that Joe Gibbs' first year, now there's a big difference because Joe Gibbs' track record after that and got things straightened out. But that was a huge, what my thinking is, and you'd have to ask Joe, but he had a serious learning curve, and I always give him a lot of credit because not everybody can do what he did. Not every coach that becomes a head coach. He completely looked himself in the mirror and said, what I'm doing is not working. And I think he listened to Joe Bugle, and Bugle said, you got to run the football.
Yeah.
Your passing game doesn't work with the talent you have. And he was making that rookie mistake of coming in with his system, and that's going to be JP5 and everything.
He was Air Coryell.
He didn't have those. He didn't have that talent. He didn't have that personnel.
Let's repeat that for the younger fans out there, John. Joe Gibbs, first time as a head coach, nobody knew who the hell he was. It was out west. Yep. You guys went 0-5.
That's my point.
0-5. I remember how close it was.
And then 8-3.
Yes.
See, but so I'm saying
adjustments.
Well, yeah, I mean, but here's the interesting thing about that, which this team doesn't possess. The nucleus of a team that potentially could have gotten to the Super Bowl. We've said this before. Of course, it ends up making me really look good. I guess I have
Timing
to tell
is everything.
Huh?
Was this around 79?
So the nucleus, 79, Dallas, 13 points ahead with less than 2 minutes. I think it was less than 2 minutes to go. You lose the game. By losing the game, you don't make the playoffs. But had you won it, you would have had the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. A short 3 years later, 80, 81, 82, that team goes to the Super Bowl and wins it. So who was missing off that roster? 1980, and they had to bring in a new coach because the team fell apart and went to 6-10, and so I come back in, and Gibbs has got his idea that he's going to do the Air Coryell, but eventually that changes. We start, the team starts running the football more, and I remember him. He says, you can look it up in whatever articles, but Cook summoned him to where was it, Middleburg or wherever it was. And he's figuring, well, this is the end, right? But Cook stuck with him, and slowly, but things turned. So my point is, Gibbs inherited a made hand. He had all the tools, and they did. Bobby Beathard did a great job of drafting some guys like Grimm and Jacoby and Dexter and
undrafted Joe Jacoby.
Huh?
Undrafted Joe Jacoby.
Well, but he signed him as a free agent. At least he had enough sense to sign him as a free agent.
He had made
and brought in exactly.
Mayday.
What about him?
He drafted him.
He didn't work out so well for a while. They finally found something that he could do. But it took a while. Joe Jacoby, on the other hand, rolled in and actually become a starter, who was underrated.
Once they realized he didn't play defense.
Once they realized he wasn't a defensive lineman. But what I'm saying is that isn't what Ron Rivera inherited. He inherited a shit show, and it stayed a shit show. And I don't want to say that that's that he's responsible for all this, but at the same time, his record, if you speak to his record in pro football, it's pretty much, there's not, you can't compare him with a guy like Bill Parcells or Joe Gibbs. I mean, guys that come in, or Marty Schottenheimer, guys in the past.
Mike Shanahan.
Dick Vermeil. There's not that many of them out there, though. But these are true professional coaches that know how to go in and look at an organization, and they know exactly what to do. I don't think Ron has quite got to that level yet, based on his record. Can it turn around? Of course it can. But you know what? It's like everybody here. It's like, well, we're in our third year. What have you done to really? There was a moment way back when, and it goes back to a wasted draft pick on a quarterback a while back. It just, and where you go into where you almost have to give Rivera a little bit of a pause, but at the same time, you took the job. So I guess you're going to have to take the heat, because you had no going in. You may not be in total control like you think you are.
Well, and
we don't know the answer to that.
To your point, John, in which apparently nothing has changed out there, because he's not the rookie coach. Joe Gibbs came in when 0-5 as a rookie coach, and we didn't know if he was in over his head or could do it. Ron Rivera, you know what you got.
Been to a Super Bowl.
There's a body of work there, and unfortunately, it's not all the good that everybody. Because Riverboat Ron, I think, it has created this brand that it represents something that really doesn't exist. And what's really has everybody frosted now is he gets off to terrible starts. Aside from 2015, that Super Bowl year.
That was okay.
I mean, terrible starts. 1-3, 1-3, 1-3, 2-2, 4-0, 1-3, 3-1, 3. And so, and then when coming back here with in Washington, 1-3, 2020, 2-2 last year, 1-3 now. And the people that are making the personnel decisions are his guys with Mayhew and Hurney, and they've been together.
So he had them in North Carolina or in Carolina.
Well, he's brought all the. This is his guys here. These are his guys here.
Only if you say so.
It's on his watch.
I don't. Unfortunately, one has to recognize the fact there's absolutely nothing that you can believe that said
anything's changed
in Ashburn. I mean, honestly, you're a fool if you think. When you hear somebody say something out there, you have to walk away going, well, maybe. You can't walk away going, all right, about time. I'm behind that. To say that Ron Rivera has total control, what's that about? That's like smokescreen. Because honestly,
right, you are correct.
I just honestly don't think
you are correct.
So but then again, Riverboat Ron is getting paid very well, probably, right? $4 or $5 million a year.
Absolutely.
So you sign on for it. I kind of look at it. Well, keep throwing it to me. I'm going to hang in as long as I can, do my job, and the chips will fall where they may. I don't get the snippiness. I never have figured that out, but I guess I forgot what it was like to be in there, and where you've been chewed up in the press, and you just kind of get tired of it because in his situation and the guys that actually do the jobs, the players, the coaches that actually day to day, you get somebody that thinks they know all this stuff that all they've been ever doing is writing stories and watching. They don't have a clue what it's about. So you can get a little bit of angst about people, going after your ass, columnists and all that stuff who never put a helmet on.
Well, here's the fortunate thing.
But their job is to make it colorful for people and keep it interesting and keep the game going so you can make your millions and millions of dollars. It's called publicity and marketing, and it's all big
part of the soap opera.
Ball of confusion.
It's all part of the soap opera and the drama because of the power of the league.
Exactly. That's the entertainment
and
business.
that's the part where it's laughable now because the local media is a shell of itself at what it used to be. It's nothing. There are no columnists that are taking him on like we used to have back in the day. It's with the exception of Sally Jenkins and some people when they decide that they want to pay attention to this franchise. And he got the honeymoon period, right? He got the honeymoon period because God bless Riverboat Ron with his reputation and everything that comes with that. So it's just fascinating to watch. We've seen this a zillion times in this town. It's happened earlier than ever. We're only 4 games into this. But it's back to Lucy and Charlie Brown. I'm not going to pull the football away again this year. So let's go to happier football times. And I think you're going to like this, John.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Your University of Kansas is 5-0 and ranked for the first time since 2009.
Gee, was that the year? Was that the year they went to the Orange Bowl? I can't remember.
Let's see. Mark's first time ranked in college football since 2009.
Where are they ranked?
19th.
All right.
19th in a big game. I'm surprised we haven't been contacted. You haven't been contacted. Big one's coming up. And it's the first time ever this Saturday that ESPN College Game Day is at KU. They play TCU, which just blasted Oklahoma last week. And TCU is now ranked 17th. And College Game Day has never gone to Kansas. And that's a big deal. They take the whole road show there.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Because they didn't have it when you played?
Not for football. They've been there many times for basketball, probably, but not football. Yeah, I saw that. Somebody said, hey, your alma mater's like, back then I think they said 3-0 or 4-0. And they said, they've really got, I said, well, you got to remember it's a basketball school. And, they used to play the Little Sisters of the Poor and got beat. Now they're playing the Little Sisters of the Poor and they're winning. So, yeah, they are improved. But does that really, it's
They got
relative.
wins over West Virginia.
It's relative.
Houston, Duke, And so
Well,
now
those are legitimate
Yeah.
schools. They usually play like somebody, South Dakota State's A&I School for the Deaf and the Blind.
Centralia's
Yeah, they could play
JUCO.
Centralia High School, Centralia JUCO. But yeah, so maybe they got, I think, be honest with you, and I don't know, but they finally went out and they got a coach, and I don't know much about it. I don't even know his name.
I read up on him today.
Okay, but I was going to say that I think he's one of those, the way it works. You somehow, either by luck or by somebody, the AD, whoever, the consortium that decides these things, found the right guy. They found, the what do you call it, the diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Because I forget where was he before this?
He had been at, I want to say, the JUCO and won like 5 or 6 national championships
Exactly.
out there in the Midwest, either Kansas or Nebraska in that area. But he's from Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, I think the school he was at, he might have played quarterback there many moons ago, but he was like legendary.
He's young, he's kind of like that guy that got defrocked down in Jacksonville. Nobody had ever heard him, and he went out. What was it, Utah State or someplace out there?
Yes.
The guy, and then he went to Florida. He would just play. He would just last year was ahead. I can see his face.
About Urban Meyer?
Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
A guy that kind of grassroots came from nowhere and all of a sudden started having. He might be one of those guys. Now he'll be one of those guys that is great as is in Kansas if he has a winning season this year, winning season next year.
They're already terrified now because 2 positions came open. I read the biggest article, aside from them being ranked and College Game Day going to be there, is he's gone after this season because Nebraska has an opening.
That's right.
And Wisconsin, where he's from, has an opening. And I read his contract today, and it's pretty low. I want to say it was like 5 years for $6.5 million or something at Kansas, which is peanuts in today's college football. But he does seem like a guy that gets it. And a guy that we'll see. They can always redo deals.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. Particularly if he has a poison pill in there, where I guess he can walk if he gets a better.
He can
offer.
walk, and he has to give back a couple million if he does.
But he'll make, obviously.
Yeah, it's all a game now, and everybody moves up a chair. And but it's good to see Kansas playing some football.
Finally, yeah. The last time. Well, I don't know the last time. I'm thinking it was that year that they won. They beat Virginia Tech in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But they come around. Is
that Mangino?
That comes around out there. I'm thinking about every 20 years they get a little bit of something going in football.
Right.
But like I tell people, technically it's a basketball school. If you want to play big time basketball, that ain't a bad place to go. You want to play big time football? I don't know. It's okay that you're taking your chances. If you got any talent, of course. You ain't got no talent, great place to be.
All right, John. We got into the vicious world of cheating in chess and in sports, and it's just there's no stopping to it whenever there's money involved. And what was your line that
the military? I don't know if it's the Army, Marines, Air Force, National Guard, or Coast Guard. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so.
Space Force.
Oh, Space Force. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Now, I will say that when it comes to fighting wars and in battle, okay. It's life or death.
We've always talked about that. If you want to give your soldiers steroids, check. Amphetamines, check. Whatever they need to get the job done.
It's always been that way.
Well, that's what makes me think. Why are we so? Now we get into a whole other bag of worms.
Well, John, it's now come to big time fishing, a cheating scandal.
That's not new.
And but this is pretty big. And
Mark Twain, the celebrated what was it, jumping frog of Calvarez County in California.
I knew you'd have it.
You remember this old story?
I knew you would have it.
They loaded the frog up with buckshot. He wasn't quite as froggy as he was before the buckshot. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, this just happened in this past week here in Ohio at the Lake Erie Walleye Trail.
Okay.
And so everybody's having a good time celebrating the catches being weighed in until a silence fell over the crowd when Jacob Runyon and his partner Chase Kaminsky brought their fish to the scales. And the best single fish up to that point, John, was 7.23 pounds.
A nice walleye, I might add. That's a nice walleye. They get bigger. But
in the words of our former guy, Warner Wolf, let's go to the videotape.
Okay.
There we go! Out of here! You don't weasel. Where's the other one? You fucking cop. Listen to me right now. Everybody listen to me right now. Jake, I want you to leave. I don't want anybody to touch these guys. I want you to leave. Please go to jail. Tell the cops.
Watch him cut the fish open, John.
Don't we need to file police report?
Yeah, I would.
Jason, we got to file police
All of
report.
them.
Every single fuck. Say it.
Those look like about an ounce and a half, 2 ounce sinkers. Egg sinkers.
We all fuck.
Watch he's gonna put out a fillet.
Man.
Yeah, look at those bags. These guys are
A
playing
fillet
hard.
fish. Look at this is
A fillet, yeah. Fillet fish.
a walleye
Put
fillet.
a walleye fillet in the fish.
He needs to go to
Do you have anything to say, Jay?
You call the cops.
I got video.
Just a
You
breakfast.
got anything to say?
You guys did refund all that.
Well, I see it.
And that's what you
It's just insane.
Fucking scum.
There had to be that close to
No, that's that dude just standing there who caught him. He's taking it.
Oh, he's
He's one of the guys.
Why did you
Take pictures. I need pictures.
you videoing this whole thing?
Got video. Yeah. I videoed it right off the rip. Hold on, let me take pictures.
A lot of people, man.
They've been doing this shit for years. Cheating
Fuck us out of it for
Piece
months.
of
Know that.
You got a boat, you got thousands of dollars, you stole from them.
So the homeboys ain't playing that. When you get
that's
busted,
exactly the jumping frog of Calaveras County. That's exactly what they did. Load him up with buckshot, same thing. Lead is lead. I tell you what, though, to me, I'm going, they've been pulling this off year after year. I always think about this.
John, here are the deets. So they were about to win $29,000 in this tournament. Those two have won over $300,000. $300,000. You're going to be looking at some serious charges now. Yeah, that's why these guys
But
were
only on this
all
one,
gathered.
but they can't get him for anything else.
In the past, through the years,
Right.
they've won over $300,000.
So you
but
could make the argument
no question.
that more than likely they've cheated, but
no
there's
question.
no proof.
Which is why all these guys were gathered around, because they're like going, those fish they don't look any heavier than the ones that have come in there, and they were twice the weight of what they were expecting just based on the visuals, which is why all these guys
Said
were
bullshit.
Yeah. So there appears to be 5 12-ounce weights and another 5 in the 8-ounce range. So the metal alone increased the weight significantly, and then they also packed them with some walleye fillets.
Just in case they didn't get the job done.
So pre-prepped.
Yeah, that's what do you call it? It's hard to relate to that. Like you said, more than likely, they've probably done this in the past. But what I don't get is that wouldn't you have an idea? Because basically what you just said, you look at a fish, it's so long, right? You've got a rough idea what that fish weighs based on the length of the fish.
These guys do for sure.
One
The
would
pros.
say that, and to see where you would see the fish that's all the same length, but this fish weighs 3 more pounds than the next one.
That's
The
what
numbers
it
ain't
was. They're
there.
like, it doesn't
But for
smell
them to
the
pull it
eye
off-
test, the sniff test, the feel. Let's go and cut about the cut test.
For them to pull it off year after year, it's that says they're pretty good at what they do, I guess. And this reminds me of a little bit because I was years back to Kansas football. Kansas played in the Orange Bowl it was the 1969 Orange Bowl. I was a sophomore, and we played Penn State, and I think we lost 15-14. And the way it turned out is Penn State was going for 2 to win the game because they marched the ball all the way down the field from their own goal line, basically, in the last few minutes of the game. Scored the touchdown, but they're down 14-13, right? So they they get all the way up to the 4th. No, they scored the touchdown, so they're going for the extra point. Kansas holds. It looks like a Kansas victory, but then they find out that there was 12 men on the field
For Kansas.
for Kansas. So obviously a penalty.
So now they go for 2?
And they went for 2, and they make it on the second try. In other words, after the penalty, they go for it, and they make it, they win the game. Now, I was at years ago, people were asking us, hey, you guys you got beat in the Orange Bowl, and you had 12 men on the field. I said, yeah, but think about it this way: those 12 men were out there for all 4 plays. Even when they scored the touchdown, they still had 12 guys out there, and nobody. I said,
Is
hey,
that true?
They got away with it for a while, but then again, one of the refs finally started. Wait a second, this ain't right. I think they had 12 guys out there the whole time,
So let that be a lesson, kids.
and still couldn't keep them out of the end zone. Anyway,
that concludes today's Spirit of Sports.
Hey, let me finish out this by saying, Ron, we're on your side, and I don't want to rough anybody's feathers up out there, but hey, we're all from Missouri in a weird sort of way. And the Missouri, you know what they call that, don't you?
The Show Me State.
Show Me State. Todd's all over that. Ron, keep that in mind. Kisses and hugs later. But you got to win a game before you get any of that stuff, okay? Right? Carson, you're good. We love you. We like you. Riggo out.